And in the pursuit of happiness, the chapter on relationships, 2, attachment and detachment. My teacher Joko pretty much summed up her attitude towards relationships in her first book, saying, relationships don't work. It was a chapter that stirred a lot of controversy. Rather than talking about everything we normally think that we gain from relationships like love, companionship, security, family life, she looked at relationship from the perspective of no gain. She deliberately focused on all the ways relationships go awry when people entered into them with particular sets of gaining ideas and expected relationships to function as an antidote to their problems. Antidotes are all versions of if only. If only I were alone, if only he were more understanding, if only she were more interested in sex, if only he would stop drinking. For Joko, that kind of thinking about relationships meant always externalizing the problem, always assuming that the one thing that's going to change your life is outside yourself and in the other person. If only the other person would get his or her act together, then my life would go the way I want it to. Joko always tried to bring people back to their own fear and insecurity, their own uncertainty. They are ours to practice with, and we can't ask anyone else, including a teacher, to do that work for us. To be in a real relationship, a loving relationship, is simply to be willing to respond and be there for the other person, without always calculating what we're going to get out of it. It was a kind of model of selfless responsiveness or giving that defines a certain picture of practice where we just give and give and give. The problem is that many people come to me and say, I've been in lots of relationships where I give and give and give. But for them, it wasn't enlightenment, it was masochism. What they missed in Joko's original account was a good description of what relationships are actually for, what the good part was. So in addition to being aware of the pitfalls that Joko warned us about, we should also look at all the ways in which relationships provide the enabling conditions for our growth and development. That's particularly obvious with children. We would all agree that children need a certain kind of care and attention and love in order to grow and develop. Nobody would say to a 5-year-old, what do you need mommy for? Deal with your fear on your own. Although people do say that to 5-year-olds. The thing is that most of us are still struggling with remnants of that child's neediness and fear in the midst of seemingly adult life. Relationships aren't just crutches that allow us to avoid those fears. They also provide the conditions that enable us to develop our capacities so we can handle them in a more mature way. Joko Beck was Barry Magid's teacher. She wrote a book called Everyday Zen. It is a marvelous book. It's not just a parent-child relationship or a relationship with a lover or a spouse or a partner that does that. The relationship of a student with the teacher, of members of a sangha, that means a group of people who are practicing Zen or Buddhism together, or practicing anything together in a way. The relationship of a student with a teacher, of members of a sangha to one another, to friends, fellow citizens, community members, are all factors that help us develop in ways we couldn't on our own. There are some aspects of ourselves that don't develop except under the right circumstances. It would be like being the only person in the world with a fax machine or a telephone. If there's only one of them, it doesn't do you much good. They only begin to function when there are others like them. Aristotle's conception of the virtues provides a way of counterbalancing some of the potential misconceptions that arrive in Zen about relationships. For Aristotle, what it meant to become fully human, to flourish and to be happy was something that he said could only take place within the right kind of communal environment. He is the real origin of the idea it takes a village. His word would have been a polis. It takes a polis, as in metropolis, to raise a child. He stressed the importance of community and fellowship, friendship, not fellowship, as necessary ingredients for character development. However, you can't find much in Aristotle about the necessity of a partner of what we have, or of what we have come to call romantic love in order to develop. His emphasis was on friendship or philia, a Greek word with broader connotations than those conveyed by the English one. For instance, the Greeks took for granted that the friendship between a young man and an older male mentor could often be eroticized. For Aristotle, in order for us to become virtuous, we need as role models the example of other men who have developed their capacities for courage, self-control, wisdom, and justice. We may emphasize different sets of virtues or have different ideas about what counts as the proper behavior or for a role model, but Buddhism, like Aristotle, asserts that the basic fact of connectedness and interdependency means none of us at any level can do it all on their own. Oh boy, this is the kind of thing that the Pope would find very threatening in the ideas of Greeks or Buddhists or LGBT, gender questioning, searching folk. I hope you can read around it, hear around it. Acknowledging this dependency is the first step of real emotional work within relationships. Our ambivalence about our own needs and our dependency gets stirred up in all kinds of relationships, whether it is the relationship that you have to a lover or to a teacher or to an analyst or to your family. We cannot escape our needs and feelings and desires if we are going to be in relationships with others. To be in relationship is to feel our need and vulnerability and dependency in relation to other people who are unpredictable and in circumstances that are intrinsically uncontrollable and unreliable. We bump up against the fact of change and impermanence as soon as we acknowledge our feelings or needs for others. Basically, we all tend to go in one of two directions as a strategy for coping with our vulnerability. We either go in the direction of control or of autonomy. If we go for control, we may be saying, if only I can get the other person or my friends or family to treat me the way I want, then I'll be able to feel safe and secure. If only I had a guarantee that they'll give me what I need, then I won't have to face uncertainty. With this strategy, we get invested in the process of control and manipulation of others and in trying to use people as antidotes to our own anxiety. With the strategy or curative fantasy is a berry thing we have notions about. We do this, we'll get that. We have fantasies about, I do this, I'll get that. I get a boob job. I'll get a facelift. And that will make me confident and admired and loved. It'll only make me the point of mockery and she got a facelift. God, she looks awful. She must have money. I'd never do that. Why, she could have donated to the starving people of the Sudan. Where are we? With the strategy or curative fantasy of autonomy, we go in the opposite direction and try to imagine we don't need anyone. But that strategy inevitably entails repression or dissociation, a denial of feeling. We may imagine that by spiritual practice or perhaps psychotherapy, as we noted in chapter 1, any practice or experience can be made to collude with our secret practice. Never mind, shouldn't have read that. We will get to a place where we won't feel need, sexuality, anger, or dependency. Then we imagine we won't be so tied to the vicissitudes of relationships. We try to squelch our feelings so as not to be vulnerable anymore, and we rationalize that disassociation under the lofty and spiritual sounding word detachment, which ends up carrying a great deal of unacknowledged emotional baggage alongside its original, simpler meaning as the acceptance of impermanence. We have to get to know and be honest about our particular strategies for dealing with vulnerability and learn to use our practice to allow ourselves to experience more of that vulnerability rather than less of it. Okay. Back to our moving. We started out, and we're going to go back to the idea that backing up is good for us, according to neurologists. I find backing interesting. Like I told you in the last tape, if you heard it, I've been watching the videos of myself backing up in this room, and I tend to back up with my chin down like this, instead of going back inside myself, back to the clamps that keep my hair on. And then once you're down, be down, let everything sink low. Elbows, backs of the hands, ribs, throat. Sinking in the weight of the pelvis, weight of the legs. Horse smothering the lips. Oh, you couldn't see me because of this pillow in the way. Crawling backwards. I love to crawl. I love to crawl. You reach, your arm comes under you. You reach from under you, an arm comes under you, arm comes under you. You reach, a leg comes under you, a leg comes under you. Backward, forwards, backwards. You let yourself sink between the shoulder blades and hang like an old gray mare. Old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be. Ain't what she used to be. Ain't what she used to be. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up. My hair is dangling. My foot is planted. If you have trouble standing up, have a stool nearby. Or a wall. I'm going to go back to the wall. I have things hanging from my walls. Ropes hanging from my walls. Okay, coming up. The weight of this head is something I'm exploring. The head going back, forward, back. To stand up and breathe out, bring belly in to support. Coming up. Coming back, walking back, coming up on the balls of my feet, staying back in the head as I lean into a turn and stepping back, back, coming up, but staying back. I want to do that again. I want to come up, back, up, back, come to flat. reaching out from back. Staying back. What? The urge to dart, to back, balance, back. I hardened in that balance, hard, staying soft, pliant, breath filled, in balance, staying soft, pliant, breath filled. Okay, I just ruined that one. Did I ruin it? Well, doesn't matter. 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 Oh no 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 So what I was just doing there is the line, this line with the elbow dropped is different from this line with the elbow lifted. And it feels different and it looks different and it is different and it feels different and it sounds different and it is not your pop, your pop. When you so do la la me do re. Trying to learn to sing. So do la mi do re. But if you said sing a third, I can't. Mi do. I did. Re do re major second. So la ti. So do. That's a fifth. La la. Where's the elbow? La. Oh. Okay. Enough. I just ruined that one. I already said that I ruined it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it's okay.